Hello, and welcome to the Conscious Communion podcast, where we traverse through the inner dwellings of the human experience through conversation. I'm your host, Danae. Join me as we explore the interconnection of creativity and community. Hello, and welcome to the Conscious Communion podcast. Today, I have a very special guest. I have with me Aaron Schafer, the conductor of No Simple Road and one of my best friends. He has easily become part of the Hilberg family, and I a part of the Schafer family. It's been a really special relationship, and here is Aaron.
Hi, everybody. What's going on?
So excited to talk to Aaron because he is one of the most incredible space holders I know.
Oh,
He's a facilitator of love and compassion and kindness, and he really holds his ability to be bold and brave in the work that he does is really outlandish, but it's held with so much integrity.
I to hear you say that like that. Well, thank you. First of all, I appreciate that. But those are I wouldn't ever think to say or think even any of that.
Really?
No.
Why?
I just don't. It's not like that in my head, is all.
Which is good because you're not egotistical.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, like, what does that mean to hold space? What do you think that is?
I think for me specifically, you create a sense of safety. And I think I've mentioned this to you before off air, but I think it's one of the things I did want to talk about today because with Aaron, there's so much that I see that's held a sense of familiarity in my family life. And you hold this sense of patriarchal strength in your home. And being that I have come into your home and you've opened your home to me like a family member, it felt uncomfortable for me to have that sense of safety with a male figure.
Really?
It did.
Again, something else that I would never even that wouldn't even cross my mind.
Yeah.
And yeah, I wouldn't even think that to have the thought that safety could make somebody feel uncomfortable. That's
I know.
wild to me. And I think for me, it's not even like something that we have set out to do, or myself, Mel, Apple, Ryder. Like, it has to do with, I think, a lot of childhood, how I grew up. My upbringing was the antithesis of safety. And my family was very transient, and I never went to the same school twice until junior high school, and divorced parents, typical Gen X upbringing. I always joke with Mel, like, I was brought up like a feral cat, like staying at different people's houses and like just did what I wanted. And when I married Mel and we started our own family, it was never a conscious thought for me to like, I'm going to set out to do this differently than was done for me. But that's what happened.
Yeah.
And over 25 years of cultivating a relationship with somebody else and being a father and now grandfather, like it's something that like is just natural for us, because now in looking back, like I never wanted my kids to feel how I felt when I was younger, like not knowing where we were going to be. You know what I mean?
Yes, very much so.
And so it's carried over into our found family relationships, like you're just saying. And you've actually, you and a couple of other people have been integral in like making that apparent. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
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 Like,
Like mirrored it back to you, and hopefully someone else has like expressed that to you verbally, because the only reason why it was uncomfortable for me to feel that kind of safety from a male figure, like I obviously feel that way with Brian, but with you being someone that, I just met
mhm,
last year, like my relationship with my father was always it was precarious in a lot of ways, and there's always that challenge with the father daughter relationship, I
mhm,
think. But with the way that he was raised, there was so much trauma, and that transpired in our relationship. And so I had this like backlash. So when I came and I was welcomed into your home and had these experiences where I had the opportunity to share transparency with you, you just held me in such like a safe way, and it was so great for me because it's helped me expand into a deeper sense of safety within myself.
mhm.
So your relationship has done that for me, which is huge.
Yeah. Well, fuck. Cool. I like I was saying, it's not yeah, it's not something that is in the front of my mind, and
Mm,
I feel like I've been around long enough to have a good sense of my own intuition.
yeah.
And um I've seen the way that the universe brings people into our lives and out of our lives, and so at this point I trust that before anything else. So most of the time, 99% of the time, it's giving people a chance before anything else. And I think that the world that we live in is quite the opposite of that in a lot of ways. Everybody, you have to prove yourself. It's the hustle mentality. And, it's when you're working in corporate America, it's about how you
Mm,
perform, and then we'll give you the accolades. And I, I don't know, in my life, I want to be the opposite of that thing. And so when somebody new comes to our home, why not accept them with open arms until they prove you wrong?
yeah,
Do you know what I
totally.
mean?
Yes. Yes, that's exactly how I think Brian and I tried to aim to be, and I think that's one of the reasons why when we all met, it was like convergence. It
Oh
was
yeah.
like
Yeah, it was super
just
rad.
immediate connection, and it was so great. And I think the big thing with you is like seeing you even interact with Jasper. Like I didn't have a grandfather growing up from either side. So even just to like witness that from as like a third party,
Hmm.
that's like healing for me, if that makes
I
sense.
get it.
You know?
Yeah.
Because you're such a good grandfather. You're so playful with him, and it's like one of those things that you get to witness, and it's like that's the grandfather I would have wanted.
Well,
You know?
thanks. Yeah. Again, like I have very little memories of my grandparents. Like my grandmother more so than anybody else, but
Mhm.
my grandfather on my dad's side, in my mind, is like this apparition. It's
Mm.
very dim, and he's a little scary and gruff, and that's about all I remember. And but being even a parent, not even a grandparent, just a parent for me is such a wild, crazy, weird departure from who I was prior,
Mhm.
that my background is nuts. Like, and where I came from, like
Yeah.
literally the streets, strung out on heroin. Like when Mel and I got together, I was completely hopeless. Like, actually, we were talking about it the other day. Um,
Mm.
it wasn't even that like hope was even a thought. That I was at the point where it was like, I don't have anything, I don't care about anything, and the road to getting back to where that is even a thought is so long that I don't want to bother.
Mm.
And when I met Mel, she had a 2-year old little girl. And I can just remember thinking to myself, I really love this woman, and I don't want to be a nuclear bomb in their lives. Like, they don't deserve that. And not knowing if I could be anything else, because I was um so damaged, like so like deeply fundamentally broken. And so becoming a dad, like, I met this beautiful girl, and she saw something in me despite the outside, and was willing to like take the chance, and nobody had ever done that. And then add on that she had this little life, right, that now if I'm going to be involved, I'm also responsible for it. If you looked at that from the outside, you'd be like, she's fucking crazy. Like, you're taking in this junkie off the street with you and your daughter, like, you out of your mind. But I can remember thinking, like, this makes the most sense of anything that's ever happened to me, and wanting to be present and wanting to be there, and like wanting to be a good dad. And like, I can remember the first time that Mel left me and Sid alone together, to like, she went to work, and now I'm dad watching the kid and going to the movies. And like, it's a memory that's stuck in my head even now. And so for somebody to put that kind of trust in me then, and like, it was huge. And so, back to Jasper, I've had all these years now of like proving to myself that I can be that. And so with him, it's just fun at this point. Like, I have all the fun with him and none of the responsibility of like having to like parent, I can strategically parent, surgically parent with him. I don't have to be in the trenches day to day. That's for my daughter to do. And I have to let go and let them do their thing. And getting to be a grandparent and be fun and cute with him is probably one of the best fucking things in the whole wide world, man. I love it.
It's so fun to watch because you're so playful with him. And I think it's just to like circle back to what you were saying with Mel and trusting you and seeing something in you. I think that there's also like just knowing your story and being a part of your circle, like that's salve for me. That's medicine, because my grandfather, he passed away from a heroin overdose, and he didn't have that support really. Like, he died alone, and I know that's really heavy, and it's just so beautiful to see another side of that.
Yeah. And I don't know why, but recently in the past couple of weeks, it's been on my mind a lot. And I don't normally think about that part of my past. It's not relevant for who I am right now. It's not part of my day to day.
No.
It's the past. And I needed it to get to where I am and all that, but I'm here now and I'm moving forward. But it's been on my mind a lot lately. I don't know why. And I don't know even now why I got the chance that I did. I know a lot of people that didn't, and that didn't make it, and my brother is one of them. He passed away. And yeah, it's strange to think about, like, why me? And I'm glad that it can do something for other people. It's not something that I'm trying to do. Mel and I have, when we first got together, were really involved in the church and like deep into Christianity. And I think at the time I needed that structure to get me standing up again, because I was, like I said, a dumpster fire. But after coming out of that and getting away from it, I have like an aversion to any overtly spiritual lingo, or like groups, or it's like a twitch or like a defense thing, because it was so it was very beneficial for us to do it, but it was also equally as damaging
Mm-hmm.
psychologically, because I was like, wow, these people are dope, and I could put my trust in them, and I'm getting put back together, and then found out that that's not really what was going on behind the scenes. It was a whole dog and pony show that was happening, and then being left to figure shit out on our own. So for me, like, even when Mel got involved in yoga and was like deep into Kundalini and doing the sadhanas and like waking up at 4 a.m. to take cold showers and like eating certain foods and following the teachings of Yogi Bhajan and all that stuff, like, now looking back, it makes me cringe thinking that like we got. And so I think I'm always on guard. And when I hear buzzwords and stuff like that, I get like, hey, wait a minute, like Darwin, like the hair on my neck stands up. I'm like, so it's a weird place to be, because we have a community of people that we've um, cultivated, a family.
Mm-hmm.
And we joke around all the time, like we started a cult, you know, and and you could kind of see it that way in a lot of ways, and so it's really weird. It's for me to be in the place that I am and to hear stuff like what you're saying, because it's so not what I'm trying to do or portray.
For sure. But it's just the way that you are, and I think that that's what I meant by the intro, like that's what I was sharing in my introduction
Mm-hmm.
with you, is that that's just the presence that you bring to any space, and especially your home. You can feel that energy because it is so vibrant, and it can, and it's so multifaceted too, which I love about you. Like, you can be playful, you can be dark, you can be funny, and it's all of it. Like, you can literally experience every layer with you, which I love. Which I
Well,
love.
I mean, thanks again, but I don't know. I've been through a lot of shit, and at this, I'm 51, and I'm still um, figuring out how to be comfortable in my own skin. Like, it's it's been a lifelong trip for me, and so yeah, I want to feel all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I think all of it is beneficial. Uh, there's different seasons. You know what I mean?
Yes.
There's different color leaves on trees. The earth is tumultuous and scary and harsh and violent and beautiful and ethereal, and it's all of it. And I'm a part of that. And
Mm-hmm.
so I I'm trying more and more to not shy away from anything in me,
Mm.
and allowing myself to just be. And it's hard. I mean, I always thought when I don't know about you, but I always thought when I was younger, like, people that were older than me had shit figured out. Like,
Totally.
I've totally thought my parents knew what they were doing. I felt like my older friends were like these wise sages that knew shit, and come to find out, man, that is not what's going on. It's We're all winging it. And that's a whole other thing too. Like, people that, yeah, there's shaman out there, there's teachers out there, and we need that. It's been around forever, but like, those people that are like, I am a shaman, I am a healer,
Yeah.
I am a teacher. I'm like, uh, it, it's little cringy. Like, really? Because if you were, would you be saying it? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And then with the proliferation of social media, there's opportunity for people to have audience and feed ego,
Yes.
and I'm in that position now. And so I'm like triply on guard of myself and the people that are
Yeah.
around me, and like, my God, I don't want to be that guy that, because, and I know you know this, like those things that we see that make us embarrassed, or you see it and you want to cringe, like you're looking in a mirror a lot of the time. And so, yeah, at this point at 51, like I'm just trying to relax in myself and let me be any of it. Like,
Yeah.
it doesn't have to be light. It doesn't have to be dark. It doesn't have to be anything. It can just be me.
It can just be you.
Yeah.
And without putting the judgment on it, I think that there's just such a freedom to play in. And I think that you're good at play.
Mm.
So like what do you do to help you feel grounded, because you are creating so much content. You're recording so many podcasts a week. You have a full-time job, you're taking care of your family, you're doing all the things. So like how do you recharge and take care of yourself so that you can hold the space that you do, even if you're not doing it necessarily like with as much intention?
No, I got you.
You know what
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean?
So wait, I'm supposed to be grounded?
I feel like you are.
No, I'm just kidding. I
You don't have to be.
No, I don't know, man.
You keep your shit together though, and that's I guess what I mean by
Well,
grounded.
yeah, yes and no. I mean, listen to, we're gonna put out an episode tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
Listen to that episode. I fully had a breakdown on the air. Like, so yeah, uh, to stay grounded, what do I do? Spend time with my family. Um, Going to shows, going to concerts is really something that feeds me. And when I feel depleted, or I liken it to like when you're driving in the rain and you don't have your windshield wipers on, like you can't see out the windshield. Like sometimes I feel like that. And when I go see live music and am surrounded by the people that find nourishment there, that kind of cleans the windshield for me.
Mm-hmm.
Playing music is another thing that grounds me. But yeah, that stuff. And I'll be honest, doing psychedelics too.
Yeah.
I think that a lot of people think that that does the opposite, that untethers us, and maybe that's true in some ways, but for me, like, been doing it a long time, and I find myself more comfortable in that space than not. Right? Like, I've told Mel and Apple, when we're in that space, I feel the most me, the most like able to release into who I am, and than any time. And then when we come down and come back to air quote reality, like that's when my walls go back up and my hangups pop back in, and my doubts and my fears and all the stupid stuff that don't even need in the first place. But
Yeah.
we're human, and that's part of the journey, you know? So that's the stuff that keeps me going at this stage. It
Yeah.
could change later.
It always will,
Yeah.
right? It's like I think that's part of allowing yourself to be all the different colors and be all the different seasons all at the same time, is like knowing how to make yourself feel good and make yourself feel grounded, or whatever that means for you, or even just fall into your creative flow. Like what can you do to support yourself, your mind, body, your spirit? Because I know for me with psychedelics specifically, like I have a much easier time falling into flow with my body and like
Oh yeah.
leaning into like, oh, whoa, this pain has been here for so long. Maybe I should do something about it. Or like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like maybe I should move it this way. Like the intuition just kind of your analogy of the windshield wipers, like
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's like, here, let's just wipe that clear real quick so I can show you something, and maybe we can readjust and reassess on how to
Yeah.
maybe make this a little bit cleaner.
And a lot of it for me too, I've noticed recently, is like less overt and more behind the scenes stuff. Like Mel would always ask, like the day after we would have a journey,
Mm-hmm.
she would be like, "So what did you get?" And I'd be like, "I don't know. I don't know. It hasn't even been 24 hours. Like, I need time to unpack
Mm-hmm.
because for me, I'm doing a lot all the time, and my mind is going 10,000 miles an hour, and I'm doing 6 different things at once, 16 hours a day. And those times, it's like I'm singularly focused on what we're doing. It's singular focus on dancing and the music and the feeling of being with everybody in communion like that.
Mm-hmm.
And so in that space, I am free to not have to think about anything for the first time in weeks and weeks and weeks. And I have found that afterwards is when I'll get the download from that. Like my
Mm.
subconscious or the universe or whatever the fuck you want to call it will then start putting pieces together of what went down, and then I can report back. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean?
Absolutely. The integration process is, I feel the same for myself. Like most of the time it's more like the body sensations where I'm like, oh, this just feels good and I'm just
Mm-hmm.
going to enjoy this. And then taking it into my journal or wherever I'm going to take it later, then that's where I'm like, oh shit, that's what was happening. Cool.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like,
Yeah, and it's so funny to me that like we are all so vastly different on how we process stuff and what we go
mm-hmm.
through. And like I was saying with Mel, she's like journaling in the moment while it's happening to her. And the next day has like a fucking spreadsheet and a bullet points and like marching orders and is ready to go. And I'm like, I just want to sleep and figure out what the hell happened last night. Like, but it takes all that. Like there isn't one kind of cell in our bodies. There isn't one system working. It's all these different parts harmoniously working together to make things
mm-hmm.
go. And you know, I think that when I was younger, I used to um, measure a lot of my self-worth on how much I was like other people. Like I would be like,
Mm.
well, I'm like that, so that makes me okay, or I'm not like that, so that makes me shitty. And coming to realize that like you can just be how you are.
Yeah.
And that's been a huge turning point for me. And like I said, I'm 51, man. I didn't think that the road would still be as strange as it is at this point. I thought I would have way more shit figured out. But
Don't you
that's
feel like
totally
sometimes
not the
when
case.
you like figure more things out, it's like the less you know, though? It's like, do you know what I mean? It's like that whole saying. It's like the more you know, the less
But
you
you know,
know,
yeah,
you
well,
know?
the more you learn stuff, the bigger the picture gets.
Yeah.
And so as the picture comes into focus, you realize you haven't seen that part of it anymore. And you're like, oh, fuck, I
Mm.
don't know anything about that. Like, that's a whole brand new scope that
Yeah.
I'm looking at. And then it happens again and it happens again. And yeah, it's totally like that. And also, getting older is really a wild trip because coming to grips with the fact that there's more time behind you than there is in front of you
Mm.
is a really sobering, intense realization. And having a family and realizing that is equally as weird. And it's part of what I think is um, some of the magic of No Simple Road is that I get to leave my voice
Mm.
and my experiences for my kids and my grandkids and whoever else wants to experience it after I'm gone.
Mm.
And like I would really love to know who my grandfather was, right? But there's nothing on the internet about him. Like there's no recordings of him. But when Jasper's old enough, if he wants to really understand who Nunu and Grandpa are, there'll be hundreds and hundreds
Hundreds.
and hundreds of episodes for him to get to know us through that.
Yeah.
So yeah, getting older and realizing that legacy is important, and like that it's okay to be going through ups and downs and twists and turns, and sharing it with other people, like you've expressed, that it makes you feel comfortable, because hell man, it feels like it's just you, but when you realize that there's other people going through shit too, it lightens the load.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, yes. And I think that's what's so beneficial to who you and Mel are, is there isn't any bullshit. You're not giving me any filler.
No.
You tell me it's not like everything's great. It's like, no, life's fucking hard and we're just going to love each other through it.
Yep.
And that's really what Brian and I tried to do in our lives. And after some of the shit we've gone through, that's really the only choice you have.
Well, if you want to, sure, yeah.
Right.
There's a lot of
There's
different
a
ways
lot of
you can
different
go.
choices. You're right.
But if you want to try and be happy and stay together, and then yeah, you have to learn to love each other through it, and yourself and the people around you. And like you said, life is hard. Like anybody that tries to tell you differently is full of shit. It's hard. There's a lot of hard lessons, and it's not always comfortable. And if you have support through that stuff, then it makes it a little easier. And you know, um that's why live music is so important to me, because that's the first place that I ever found that. I was 18 years old, and like a kite with its string cut off in the breeze, and I found this community of people that were willing to um support me no matter what. Like they weren't interested in how much money I made, or what accolades I had achieved in my life, or what I knew, or what I looked like, or nothing like that. All that shit was out the window. And it was like, are you here for the music? Then cool, part of the family, and let's take care of each other. And I've told Mel this before, like finding the Grateful Dead community, and at 18, when I had like really, really overdone doing psychedelics at a young age, and had done some damage to my young mind, and finding that thing, and the lyrics put me back together again, like taught me how to get out of the damage that I had done to myself, and like start to move forward again out of that. And not that I didn't find my way back into all kinds of craziness after that, but it was really responsible initially for helping me not lose my mind from all the shit that I had done to myself, you know, because I was really running away from a boatload of emotional pain that I was never modeled how to deal with. I had no clue.
Yeah.
I thought that if something was wrong, you would ignore it until it goes away. And as we know, that doesn't work.
Right.
And so it became a molehill, and then it was a mountain, and then it was the entire world. And I was trying to like hide from that, and you can't do that forever.
No, it's part of and that's like what the earth has to teach us in so many ways, right? It's like the cycles will continue to come back. Like nature will continually try to process things when it's not purged from the earth.
Yeah.
And I think we're seeing that right now, right? And it's like, I think your podcast and you sharing yourself so vulnerably is such a great way to show others you can process it. And even though it's hard, like there's folks and family that are here and that have done this thing, and I think the music community is such a great space to do that, because it's like, yeah, you can be free and you can talk about it after, and you can kind of like integrate all of those beautiful moments in time together. And you do that through your podcast, and it's so awesome. And
Thanks. I mean,
yeah,
I don't know what else to do. I literally don't know what else to do. Like that thing has been so important to me. Apart from like meeting Mel and having my kids, that initial experience of seeing the Grateful Dead is one of the most transformational, impactful moments of my life. Like if special times in our lives are like mile markers, that is a huge one on my path. And that's how I figured out life. And so I don't know how to do it any other way.
yeah,
That's it's everything else is doesn't make sense.
it's integral to your mind map,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
Like that's how that's and I think yeah, like music is the festival scene and the festival community is so welcoming, so open, so kind. And I experienced that myself for the first time at 18, and it totally transformed the game for me. And then like meeting you and Mel and then finding out that that was your thing.
Yeah,
I
it's
was
our
like,
jam.
"Oh, well that makes sense. That completely makes sense." Like, of course these people are festival people. My best friend is a
Mm-hmm.
festival goer and contributes to creating a festival. And it's like, yeah, of course these people are in that
Well,
community.
yeah, that whole thing is relatively new in the life cycle of Mel and I. Like
Yeah.
we didn't do any of that for the first 20 years. Yeah, 19 years we were married. Like we raised a family.
Yeah.
I came from that thing, but in order to be good parents and do the thing, we didn't do that for a very long time. And if look, it wasn't even a conscious thing. Like we're not doing that right now. We're raising kids. It just we didn't have time for it. It just
That's just how it
it just life
happens.
was happening. We raised our kids and had jobs and we're doing our thing. But when we moved up here and started No Simple Road and started doing that again, it was like returning home. And it I realized that a huge part of me was missing. And that was where I knew how to do my magic. And or yeah.
Yeah.
And that was kind of the birth of No Simple Road, that finding that again. I mean, the show started because Simon bought me a microphone for Father's Day. I never in my wildest dreams thought that we would do what we've done. Like it wasn't a plan. There was no spreadsheet. There was no 5-year list of goals. It was just showing up. It is just showing up every week and talking about what's going on. And then we just happen to have the opportunity to be able to talk to the people that are making the music that we love so much. And it's huge for us. And I think we were talking about this yesterday on the show. Like, I think from the outside, it can seem like, oh yeah, they've been working so hard and like the show's gone so many places and it's doing so much. And like, I'm so proud of you guys. And we've heard that lately a lot. And thank you. But like on the inside of it, it's just, we're just living our life. And not that I'm not grateful and blown away. And the whole thing is fucking as surreal can be that it's going on. But we're just living our life. And we decided that we were going to do it in a very public manner so that people wouldn't feel alone.
Yeah. And you do that. That's what I like, you being just a vessel of integrity. Like that's what I mean. Like that is you. I know because I'm here at least once a week, I feel like, and I see you living your life and there aren't changes. Like you're flowing into the room, you're recording, and then you're going back out and you're having tea and you're laughing and you're with family, and it's just this ever ebbing flow of you in your creative you know.
It's so weird to
It's
hear other people talk about it, because it's so normal
yeah,
now. The all of
yeah,
it is so like, yeah, it's what we do. It's
yeah.
no big deal. But it is. It really is like, man, there's moments that have happened that the weight of the thing is impressed on us.
Mm,
And I think that's important every once in a while, so
yeah.
that you can like, dude, the ship that you're piloting is doing something.
Mm-hmm.
And that's good. You don't need to hear that shit all the time, but once in a while it's nice to have a reminder. And like, I can think of a couple times, like at Northwest String Summit this year, um, Mel and I are dancing. It's like, I think it was the third night. We'd been partying really hard. It was during the headliner, and we're down on the floor in this sea of people. And this young girl walks up to us and is like, I don't want to fangirl out on you guys, but I just want you to know. And she's bawling. She's like, I just want you to know that, like, you guys got me through quarantine. No Simple Road is the thing that got me through quarantine. I live in the mountains. I live by myself. I didn't have anybody. And tuning into you guys every week made me feel like I was with my friends and my family. And I just wanted to say thank you. And her name is Gretel, and I'll never forget it. And those moments impress on us like, oh, wow, this, the, our day to day that we think is just normal is not just normal, and it's
Yeah.
special, and it's grand, and it's beautiful, and it's magical. And then it's like, okay, cool, put that in your pocket and keep going.
Yeah. Yeah. But you're just doing like the conversations, having had the opportunity to sit in with you all, and you really, it's so natural. It's so evident that what you're doing is part of your dharmic path. It's part of your purpose.
I've said that. Like, it took me, what is it, 40 something years to figure out what I wanted to be when I grew up.
Mm,
I had done every job you can possibly imagine. If you name something, I probably did it. And like, nothing ever fit. I never felt comfortable. Everything always left me with an itch at the back of my brain. Like, this isn't right. This isn't right. Like, my intuition would be screaming. And sometimes I would think I want to do something and start doing it, and then that wasn't it. And then like, try this, and that wasn't it. And during all that, I was learning all these skills. So like, graphic design skills, and like learning how to fix computers and do computer stuff, and learning how to build websites, and learning how to do audio stuff and video stuff, all different jobs that I had done in my life that like never connected and made no sense, all while listening to talk radio all the time. And then my son gives me a microphone, and I do this, and I'm like, holy shit. All that stuff that I'd been doing my whole life that never made any sense all comes together in this one thing. And I'm fucking good at it. Like, I know what I'm doing. For the first time, I don't have to call anybody and ask, how do I do this? Like, I know I'm the guy I would call to ask how to do this. And I don't say that in any kind of like egotistical way. It was like an epiphany for me. Like, holy shit, I found out what I want to be when I grow up. And it's been an unfolding. Like,
yeah.
the to to see what it was when we started to what it is now is like, holy shit, how did we do that? You know what I mean? And now sitting here, it's almost 2023, and like, we're getting ready to throw a concert across the country with the artist that I never even thought we would speak to. And it's our show. And I was telling Mel and Apple the other day, we were having like a business meeting in the kitchen, and I opened up the poster, the graphic for the show, and I was like, you guys, this is us. Like, take that in for a minute. This shit is us. We're doing this. how weird is this that we get to do this? Like, I never thought in a million years we'd be doing this shit. And it feels so natural. It feels so good. And that's how I know it's right. Like,
Yeah.
my intuition is finally not screaming at me to turn the corner. It's like, keep going.
Yeah, it's not telling you that you're going the wrong
Yeah.
way.
Stop. And I'm hard-headed, so I would just keep going anyway. Yeah.
No, totally. And yeah, like, you are so talented with you have so many gifts, but like, your voice, and I think that's why No Simple Road thrives, is because in your home, I feel that sense of safety. I know that you're carrying that because I've listened to your show. I've listened to No Simple Road. I've listened to many episodes, and it's that same feeling that I feel when I'm by myself in my car listening, or if I'm at home and I'm listening. I feel that same sense of safety, that same sense of security.
And I think a lot of it too is 99% of it is the relationship that Mel, Apple, and I have together.
Yes.
Whatever that is, I don't know what that is. And that's cool. I don't need to know. But whatever that triumvirate brings together with the energy of that thing is the reason that the show has done anything.
Yeah. It's the dynamic.
100%.
Yeah.
Like, I could not do that by myself. Mel couldn't do it by herself. Apple couldn't do it by himself. The two of us couldn't do it together. Any way you want to break it up, it wouldn't happen. It wouldn't be the same. It's when the three of us are together, and I think it's because we've all grown up together as adults. And there's something special about that for whatever reason.
Community. And it's showing that community works.
Yeah.
It's not like everybody lives with, like their partner and their best friend. Yeah. And Apple lives here, and you make it work. And not only do you make it work, but you're also in business together. So it's like you're doing your podcast and you're making that happen, but you're living together and you're loving each other through it.
I can't even think of any other way to do it.
Yeah. No, definitely. And I did want to ask you about the logo.
What about it?
Because Aaron did the logo.
Oh, your
for
logo.
My podcast.
Okay.
And I know it's like a turn.
No.
Hard right, but you had said that one reminded you of you. It made me two, and one reminded. I'm guessing it's the one that I'm using. Yeah. What was your process like because we kind of talked and we were landing on all these like same ideas, and I loved that. Like, we had the same text that we were thinking of, like even the same logos we had pulled up. And I just really wanted to see what your creative process was like with that, because your creative process is so interesting to me because it feels so authentic to who you are.
Okay. Honestly, there was no there wasn't a lot of trial and error with it. I was doodling. So, full disclosure, your logo is something that I've been drawing in different formats for 20 years or more. Like, it's something that I've always eyeballs to me, especially like the one that I drew for your logo, are so fascinating to me. If I'm like in a meeting at work, that's what I'm doodling. That's been something that I always draw. But the eye in the pyramid thing has been, I think, disabused of what it really is. And people have a automatic connotation when they look at it. There's a lot of things that people think, and I want to try and take that back and like have it seen for what it really means to me anyway. And like, especially in conversation, there's two people that are having the conversation, but there's a third thing that's created when two people sit down and start having a conversation, and it's the connection between them, and it's also the unseen, unheard conversation that's going on as well. There's a spiritual thing that happens when good conversation is happening. It's the same thing that happens when musicians improvise on stage. It's opening up to the universe, to all the chaos that's out there, not knowing what's going to happen. And there's something that if we let go and just let it happen, that kind of takes control. And that's the pyramid. That's the two people having the conversation in that third thing. And when that happens, it illuminates, and that's what the eye is for. And you can plug that thing into a lot of different things, but in working through doing the logo for the show, that's what I was thinking. Like, you're going to be having these conversations with people, and there's this third thing that's there, and it's going to open people's eyes. So that's what I was thinking.
I love that. And that's what you, Mel and Aaron do, or Apple. That's what you, Mel and Apple do. It's like the three, it's the trifecta.
Yeah. It's a trip, man. Like, living with your best friend and your nephew is not without its challenges. I'm not going to say that it's perfect all the time, but it has, it's changed our life in so many positive ways that any of that negative stuff is just wiped out. I can't think of doing it any other way at this point. And Apple and I too, like, he was 14 and I was 12 when we met, and we've known each other and been best friends for 38 years. And he's single, and we were both getting older. And when we moved, we told each other, like, all right, dude, we're going to grow old together. Like, this is it. And that's part of the magic of what has happened since we moved up here, is making that commitment, all of us together, of like, okay, we're going to support each other through life now. This is it. And we're going for it. And we want to have something, we're creating something that will take care of the three of us through our creativity and passion and talents. And we never had that opportunity before. We were always giving our time, talent, creativity, and energy to something else, to someone else, to somebody else's business, to somebody else's bottom line. And we're working to flip the script on that.
Yeah, to change that narrative. Yeah. And it's so funny having met you. Like, when you moved here was the year that we wanted to move here, so which funny. I think is so wild. And then having Brian have met Mel, and him, encouraging me to make that a connection that I needed to make, and then coming over here and then meeting you all and being like, wait, these are our people. Like, what the hell? And they live down the road. Okay. That's just like, obviously there was some unforeseen source happening, laying the land of all of this beforehand.
We would meet before we moved. Me, Mel, Apple, and Ryder would meet every week on Sunday or whatever, and we'd sit on our back porch in Vegas and plan for our move. Like, okay, this is how we're gonna get who's gonna take care of getting the moving truck. Okay, I found these houses on Zillow. Like, we would all meet. And there was one weekend that we were sitting there, and I was like, you guys, think about this for a minute. Right now in Portland, there's people that are living their lives, that are our friends, that we haven't even met yet, that don't know we're coming, but we're going to change each other's lives. And coming up here, there's a few people that we've met that those are the people that I was talking about. And you and Brian are a couple of those people. Like, there's certain people that we've met since we've been up here that are like puzzle pieces. Ben and Tiff, you guys, Jen and Brady, that like, oh, these are uh people that we've known before. For
Mm-hmm.
whatever reason, we have karma with these people. Like,
Oh yeah.
there's something going on.
Oh yeah. The first time Mel ever did Reiki on me, I was like, whoa, we've done this before.
She is a powerful, powerful woman, man.
You're
She
lucky to be married to her, and
she
she's lucky to
is
be married to you.
she's something else, man. I mean, the least of most thing with her is that she saved my life. Like, and most people be like, that's not the no, that's not the biggest thing. Like, she is so gifted in so many ways and so crazy and so amazing. And like, it's my she is my favorite thing. Period. Like,
Yeah.
watching her bloom
Mm.
is the most fascinating, wonderful, beautiful, coolest, most interesting, never get old, like, raddest thing
Mm.
ever. And you hear people talk about like love at first sight, and it's so cliche
Mm.
and bullshit, and like love songs about it, and like, ugh, you puke. And but I distinctly burned into my psyche is the
Mhm.
first time I saw her. And in hindsight, I knew at that moment that we would be sitting here now. Not like I didn't see it, and like, but my higher self was like, that's it, you're done.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly how I felt when I saw Brian. Same.
And I was, like I said, I was a feral cat. Like,
You're wild.
I was not a good guy. And
You were a good guy
but
because you were you now, but
yeah,
you were just caught up in
but
some
I
bullshit.
I was completely blown away.
Yeah.
Like, everything else didn't matter after that. There was a lot of stuff that had a hold of me still,
Mm-hmm.
but it didn't matter anymore. And like, yeah, like I said earlier, having somebody that could actually give a shit despite outward appearance like that made all the difference in the world. Like, what are you doing? What the actual fuck do you think you're doing? Like, you have a 2-year-old little girl. You're 19 years old. This guy's 26, strung out. What are you doing? From anybody else's point of view, that's insanity. And if you were at a Vegas sports book taking odds, you're betting against that every time. Like, every time.
No, I mean I think that's one of the reasons why it's like making me emotional. It's like that's why your relationship and I think this family is like such a safe space for me, and it really is like salve for my soul because to see that like Mel gave you a chance during that time, and like like I know so many people who have been sick like that, especially with opioids and heroin, and so many folks don't give those people a chance, and and she did, and look at you now, like look at this beautiful life that you're living now.
Love is like the universal medicine.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah.
And that's not to say that like, well, we fell in love and then happily ever after.
Right. No.
We've been through some
Shit.
seriously gnarly, awful,
Mm.
mean, uh, I the adjectives go on stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But at the bottom of it has always been love and being able to see through,
Mm-hmm.
and for both of us. And I don't pretend to know why. I don't get it. It's beyond me.
Mm.
It's totally beyond me. But I do know that it's it's tangible for other people because I know I feel it.
Mm-hmm.
So other people have to be able to feel it too.
Yeah.
And like, I had a chance, going back to the very beginning of this conversation of like creating a safe space.
Mm-hmm.
I got a chance. So who am I to not give people a chance? Like, I'm the last person to shut the door on somebody. Now burn me, watch what happens. But like, initially,
yeah.
why not, man? I got my chance. I'm gonna give it every time. That's the least I could do. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like literally the least I can do. And everything after that, okay. I don't know. I feel like we've been gifted the opportunity to share what we have.
And you do that well.
Yeah. And I don't think everybody gets that. And like, I want to be a good caretaker of that thing and like do it right and do it, like you said, with integrity. My dad, one of the last things he said to me before he passed away was, a man only has his word. At the end of the day, all you have is your word. If you tell somebody something, you better fucking do it. And he said it just like that. And I'll never forget that. Like, all the money, all the musical guests, all the whatever doesn't mean shit if what I say isn't real. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So I took that to heart. He meant that shit. He was a singular, extraordinary human being. Like, he had to have been like a monk or like something in past lives. And he was so talented and so rad and so funny and so grumpy and was such a good dad and such an awful father sometimes, and was just like taught me so much. And it really took him passing away, I think, for me to fully grasp the breadth and depth of what he taught me. Because when you're in your relationships with people, the history gets in the way sometimes and you have your feelings about them and whatever. But after he passed away, like, all that stuff was pushed to the side and I got to see all of it for what it really was. And I was like, wow, the only reason I'm able to do any of this shit now is because of what I saw him do. I told Mel the other day, I was like, you know what I want to be when I grow up? I want to be my dad.
Carrying your legacy.
Yeah.
And you mentioned that in the first part of the episode. And I think you get to do that, and you get to do it with the people that you love, and you get to do it on the air, and everyone gets to hear it. And
Such
Jasper
a cool
will
gift.
be able to hear it later down the line if he chooses to. You know, it's like, what a legacy you get to live.
Yeah. I'm really grateful, man. And I don't know if it's because it's the end of the year and like get introspective when the calendar turns over into the next year, but like really grateful this year for all of it, all the bad shit, all the hard stuff, all the good stuff, like just really sitting in being grateful. And there's been a lot of struggle and in the past, and to have a moment in time where you can just like enjoy the work, so cool.
It's a sweet place to be.
Yeah, man. Just like, I fucking love this. So fun. And people are getting blessed by it, and we're getting blessed by it. And like, holy shit, I'm so grateful we get to do this. And like, just being able to do that and be cool with it. And, you know, we have goals. There's things that we want to have happen, but not be like striving for anything. Like, I'm just excited to see what's going to happen.
You're letting the purpose of your dharmic path lead you, and then like the universe is going to meet you there. Like, that's what's happened. Like, it's been a reciprocal act. Like you're following what spirit is calling you to do, and you're doing that thing,
Mm-hmm.
and you're doing it with integrity. So it's coming back to you.
And the thing that I'm learning now, like 5 years in, is like how you showed up for it a week ago is not how you need to show up for it today. That changes
So
all the
good.
time. And like it requires more,
Mm-hmm.
and you need to show up more.
Mm-hmm.
And then it gives more. And then you show up more and it gives more. And like it's such a trip to like see it speaking to us. And what I mean by that is like I'll have a down day or like moments of doubt or questioning what we're doing. And then within a day, like 5 emails will come in that are like, thank you so much for what you guys are doing. Just keep doing it. Blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh, that's the show talking to us. Like, holy shit. Or like, there's been times in the past when I'm like, oh my God, we don't have anybody booked. What are we going to do? I don't know what to like, what guests to get. And then we'll get emails of like, hey, we want to come on your show. Hey, you guys should have this guest on. And it's almost like it's past its infancy and this thing is alive and awake and like doing stuff for us. And it's dope. It's dope. So to be able to show up more for that and give more, even when you thought you were already doing everything that you could, you find that there's more space and like more that you want to do and different ways that you can engage with it. And then the vibration goes up and more happens. And I really think that like those people that we see that have like super successful companies or um, businesses that they are really blessing people with that have gotten really big, that's the key.
Yeah, I
is
agree.
just continue to show up and do your thing, man, and do it with integrity and love it and don't worry about the result. You know what I mean? And it's easy to say,
For sure.
I want to look at the numbers of the downloads and be like, yeah. But I need to learn how to not let that be the driver,
Right. Because it feels good in your spirit.
Yeah.
It feels good. And that means that it's right. Like your intuition hasn't led you wrong this far.
No, it's actually done really well. I'm proud of it.
Yay, intuition.
Yay, intuition. Good job, buddy. Yeah, it's been a trip. And like I said, it all goes back to, for me, it goes back to that first Grateful Dead show.
Yeah.
Like if I hadn't have found that then, I mean, who knows, whatever. But like, it's so cheesy to say. I'm so grateful for it though. Like it's beyond anything. And then it's funny with that thing too. Like we were having a conversation with Jenny and Brady yesterday, and Jenny does like these, for you listening, Jenny does these awesome beaded guitar straps, and they are being used by like Bob Weir from the Grateful Dead and O'Teal and Anders Osborne and just the list of famous people that wear these straps goes on and on. And we were talking about the Grateful Dead community and like how we've both found that if you show up for it and you bring your passion and your talent with you, that thing gives back and helps you rise. Like she's putting out a book and she didn't know how to publish, didn't know anything about that, and reached out to the Grateful Dead family, and they came and lifted her up and are helping her do her thing. And the same thing has happened for us. And so it goes back to that like first experience with that and finding that and like that feeling of safety and home. And now wanting to share that with everybody.
Yeah. Well, thank you for being a model for me. I mean, even with the podcast, like I wanted to do it for so long, but all the people that I had known in the past, this this isn't like a diss or anything like that. I wasn't seeing it in a way that felt like it was mirroring what I wanted to emulate.
Mm-hmm.
And then watching you all do it with such integrity and really like living it out, and you know what I mean? Like I was like, oh, I could do that. I could do it like that, you
That's
know?
rad. That's dope. I mean, that's the highest compliment I could possibly get. So
Yeah.
thanks. Yeah, I appreciate that. And it's podcast is funny because it doesn't. You don't need a license. You don't need any real like anything. Anybody can do it with their phone,
Yeah.
basically. And everybody I know is like, yeah, I'm going to start a podcast. We're going to start a podcast. And it's like, I did the same thing. Yeah, we're going to start a podcast. And not knowing what is going into that thing. And
It's a
like,
lot.
it's a lot. And I mean, just simply knowing what to do to record the damn thing. Like it's a lot. And you can look on like Apple Podcasts and just randomly start clicking podcasts, and you'll see tons of them that have like 25 episodes and then they stopped, or 15 and then they stopped, or 40 and then they stopped. But if the cool thing about it also is that anybody can do it. You don't need a license. You don't need anything special. You can do it with your phone. So that means that the people that should be doing it can, right?
Yeah.
It's open to anybody. And I feel like it's new enough to where the thing is finding the people that it wants to um, carry it forward. And it's weeding out those that it doesn't. And so I'm glad that we could be that for you. I had it. I had it with Duncan Trussell. Like that was my, oh shit. I see that he's doing it and he's doing it amazing. And I think I could maybe do that. Really think I could do it. And so if I can like pass that gift on, dope.
You've done it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Can you tell people where to find you and listen to you and all the things? All the socials.
Yeah. So you can follow us. Our main social is Instagram. It's at No Simple Road. We also just started a TikTok at No Simple Road. That's Apple's baby. So go check that out. You can go to nosimpleroad.com. All of our episodes are up there, the most recent episodes. And then there's a player that has every episode in it. And we've also started another podcast called No Simple Disruption. And you can go to nosimpledisruption.com and find out the details on that. We are working with John Medeski and Jeff Firewalker Schmidt of Saint Disruption. Medeski is a world-renowned jazz musician. Jeff is the most interesting man in the world. He's like a scientist, a shaman, like a legit shaman, not a dude that just says he is, a healer, a dope human being. And we are working with young poets, and they're putting music to their poetry. And then we're holding an elders council to have conversation with them. And so that's No Simple Disruption. The premiere is December 20, or I'm sorry, let me back up. The pilot is December 29th. It'll be on all podcast outlets. And then the first season starts in February. And we're doing the fundraiser on February 15th in Asheville at Salvage Station with John Medeski and Friends, which is Oteil Burbridge of Dead and Company, Vernon Reed from Living Color, soul singer Maggie Rose, DJ Logic, and Brian Jackson. And they're going to rock the house. And we're going to be there emceeing. So, yeah.
It's going to be so good.
I can't believe that I got to say, like, holy shit. That's so dope.
Medeski.
I'm so excited.
Like, what?
Dude, makes my hair stand up. Okay, check this out. Just I know we got to go, but before we ever met John Medeski, we were sitting on the front porch and we were talking, and Apple and Mel were like, if you could interview anybody alive right now, who would it be? And I was like, oh, I would love to interview John Medeski someday. And like 3 months later, we got it. Like check this out. We had made friends with a publicist. I had no idea that that was Medeski's publicist. This was for somebody else. We had become friends with this guy. I went to John Medeski's website and sent an email saying, I'm Aaron from No Simple Road, and I'm a huge fan, and like, I'd love to have you on the show, and blah, 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 blah. The next day I get an email from that publicist who's our friend. It's like, ha, 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 I know who you are, man. I'm his publicist. Do you guys want him on the show? Like, holy shit. Like, that was like my Himalaya mountain interview. And yeah, now we're doing a concert with him. So.
Magic is real.
Magic is real. It is. So yeah.
It is real.
Thanks, Danae, for doing this with me. This was really fun.
Yeah, thank you. I love holding space with you and being with you anyway. So this was great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Love you guys.
Love you. Bye.
Hey there, it's Danae again. Just wanted to say thank you for sharing your time and energy with me. If this podcast resonates, please like, subscribe, follow, and share if you're willing. Reviews help too, so if you're feeling the vibe, please leave a review where you can. Sending all the love. Peace.